Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we are going to migrate over all of these different references to cart context inside of our components that we found over so that we can now use the bindings in Redux because we've migrated the cart over. There's actually a strategy you can use to approach which of these to change first based on which components are able to have references that will open it up for us so we can access further ones. An example for this is that we know that everything now that references cart context is no longer working because we've removed the cart provider that we had before from our index.js. So the first thing that we should probably hook up is any places that have the most high-level access that will then unveil for us the remainder of the code. For example, we can't really see the cart dropdown unless we can open the cart dropdown. So what this means is that inside of our navigation, we probably want to do this first so that we can actually set is open or is not open. So to begin, let's get rid of any references to use context as well as the cart context. And then what we'll do is we will import in what we need from our appropriate store folder. So we know we need is cart open. This is going to be a selector that we have inside of our cart selectors. So let's go up into the appropriate file for cart selector. And here we'll say select is cart open. We also need useSelector, which we already have when we did our current user. So here I'm going to say is cart open is equal to useSelector passing in select is cart open. Now let's save our code. And what we know now is that we can see the cart dropdown as long as is cart open is true or false. So the binding there works. But the next thing we need to do is actually make it so that we can set that value is cart open. So to do that, what we'll have to do is go into our cart icon and we'll have to remove our reference to cart context, use context, and import in our dispatch. So here we know we have set is cart open as well as reading is cart open and cart count. So that means we also will need useSelector because we have to select off the cart count value and is cart open. What we need now next is we have to import in the appropriate selectors as well as action creators. So let's first go up to the appropriate folder of store and then cart. And then we need one for our cart selector and we need one for our cart actions. So let's think about which ones we need. Here we need cart count, so let's get select cart count. And also we need select is cart open. As for our action creators, we just need our set is cart open. And here now, we don't need this anymore. We can just make sure that we get first off the cart count value, which is equal to useSelector, passing in select cart count. And then we also need our dispatch because we will be dispatching our action creators. And we can now say, hey, this toggle method right here that we already have, what it will do is it will say set is cart open is a action creator. So we know we have to dispatch this. So let's just wrap this inside of our dispatch. As for is cart open, we can get this value using our selector for select is cart open. And there we go. That's all we need. So now what we should be able to do is at least open and close the cart dropdown. So if we go back to our application, we see that's exactly what we get. Next step, we need to set up our cart dropdown so that it can actually show the values. So inside of our cart dropdown component, I'm going to get rid of cart context again, as well as use context. And here we see that we just need cart items. So I'm going to import in useSelector from React Redux. And then as far as the actual selector goes, I need select cart items from the cart selector. And here I'm just going to say I get my cart items from use selector passing in select cart items. But in order for us to actually get cart items into this cart dropdown, we need to make sure our product card is able to actually dispatch the add item to cart. So here, once again, let's get rid of our cart contexts. And what we know we need is pretty much just the add item to cart action. So I'm going to import in use dispatch because, as we know, every single one of our actions needs to be dispatched. And then I'm going to import in our add item to cart method, which comes from the appropriate folder inside of our store once again. So let's go to store, cart, cart action. And let's just make sure that this is the right method. So here, I'm going to go into this file. And down here, we see that it is add item to cart. So this is indeed the correct name. And then all I need to do is get rid of this context, bring in dispatch using the use dispatch hook, and then just making sure that we dispatch out our action creator that had the same name as our old function. So now what I should be able to do is add items, but here we see cart items.find is not a function. So something we've done is a little off. Let's go back and check. Inside of here, we call add item to cart. And as we notice, we need to pass in cart items into our actual action creator. So we were not doing that, but we knew that we had to do this when we set up the actual action creator. So in order to get this value, what we'll have to do is get in the cart items that is currently inside of a Redux store. So we'll need to bring in use selector and also import in the appropriate cart item selector. Select cart items like so. And now I can just say const cart items is equal to use selector, calling select cart items. And then I'll just pass cart items into add item to cart like so. Because the first argument is the current cart items, this is the one that we need to add. And now if I go back to the application and let's refresh, when I hit add, there we see we got the appropriate actions firing. And here we see that we are indeed getting our correct values. So at this point now, we've migrated everything we need inside of the main application except for the actual checkout components. So you've seen me do it. If you haven't done it, try it out yourself. If any of this seems confusing, again, repractice and implement it and gut it out and then move it over. Again, as I mentioned, you want to think about the migration strategy. You want to pick the components that you need to unlock through the first surface level of the migration. And then as you go deeper, you're able to actually access those and modify them as well. So fix up the checkout and then join me in the next video where we'll do it together.